the important aspects that we had covered was that some of the basic aspects of why marketing is important. The scope of marketing, some of the fundamental marketing concepts, and how marketing has evolved over a period of time, and why is it necessary for being a successful marketeer. Yes, Hassan Arif, you're trying to raise your hands. Can you please? Yes, thank you. Um, so let us try to address some of these issues, as we had already seen an important case study of Tata Swatch. We saw that marketing actually created demands and demand created jobs. Also, we tried to see that uh, these demand, they ended up creating revenue, uh, and these revenue, they created profit, and the profit was actually flowed back in the context of the profits and revenues, profit to the marketeers and revenue to the different stakeholders. So this is how marketing per se worked for the different products and services that exactly uh, was being handled in the entire ecosystem, the economic ecosystem. So coming back to the definition, that marketing happens to be the activity which involves a set of institutions and the process for creating, communicating, and delivering, as well as exchanging the offers. Now, these offers, they have to have some level of value for customers and clients, partners, and society at large, or rather the different type of stakeholders which exactly are there. So this basically happens to be the standard definition of marketing, which we basically would be uh, keeping central into the perspective of the entire course. Now, marketing management is basically the art and science of choosing a target market, also towards getting, keeping, and growing customers through creating delivery and communicating superior value. That is the customer value. That is, unless and until we offer some level of value to the customer, we cannot be doing something which is called as marketing management per se. So effectively, we have to be looking at this important dimension towards marketing and marketing management. Now, what exactly ends up being marketed? Marketing is not only just about products and services, but rather it's a whole uh, cross section of different goods and services. Rather, not only just goods and services, but even people, places, experiences, events, properties, organization, information, and even idea can also be marketed. We also tried to see the example of how a place can be marketed, wherein we tried to look into a case study of Bihar tourism, where Bodh Gaya happens to be the marketed entity for selling tourism in Bihar. Now, this is how a state can be marketed, even not only just products and services. Towards idea marketing, I gave you an example of a situation where an idea towards eye donation happened to be an idea which was marketed by the Rotary Award International Eye Bank. So effectively, you have different type of contexts which exactly fall within the domain of getting marketed. Now, coming down to some other aspects of marketing, which we had already covered, that is who markets. We saw what was being marketed, but rather who exactly is it that is marketing. So we basically have two dimensions. One is the marketeer and the other is the prospect. Now the prospect becomes actually a customer if he buys the products and services, and a consumer if he uses the products and services which exactly have been marketed. So coming down to the different aspects, that is, a marketeer first seeks the attention. The different type of responses that they seek from the prospect starts with the attention of the prospect. That is, they try to seek their attention. Now you must have seen different type of ads, different type of information, different type of uh, aspects which exactly are present in the entire um, frame, that is the entire environment, wherein they speak loud and clear. The different type of information is bombarded from different sources. So effectively, this starts with creating the attention of seeking the attention of the prospect. Once the prospect's attention is sought, then we try to seek its interest. That is, the interest has to be built up for the different type of products and services which exactly a marketeer is trying to propose to the prospect. So after we get the attention and the interest of the prospect, then we look for something called as an offer which exactly should have some level of desire by the prospect to own that product or a service. So attention, interest, followed by desire. And then we try to create some sort of a stimulus wherein the prospect does some sort of action. Now, how exactly does the prospect act? The prospect acts in different ways. So we exactly have got the attention, interest, desire, action, and then reaction. So these are done in the context of whether the person actually purchases your product, whether it actually votes for you, whether it recommends your product to the others, and so on and so forth. So this is basically how the entire uh, reaction, the chain reaction happens between the prospect and the marketeer. Now, we also did discuss about something called as the different type of demands which exactly exist in the market. We said that there are certain type of demands which are there, and these demands are not only acceptable, but sometimes there are even negative demands. Like for example, if you are going to a dentist for a root canal uh, treatment, RCT, that you wish to get it done. Now, effectively, everybody fears a dentist chair. You try to delay as long as you can going to a dentist, also, although this is actually a service. So this can be an example of a negative demand. Then there are certain demands which can be unwholesome demand, which exactly is not acceptable. Like for example, gambling, or consuming certain type of products which exactly are not good for your health, like smoking, or smoking which happens to be injurious to your health, or drinking alcohol. Now these are unwholesome demand which basically people are using, but basically that exactly is having a counter effect. So rather than demand which exactly is irregular, like for example a seasonal demand for a different type of a product or services, like it's winters these days and we are using different type of heating devices for controlling a comfortable environment. It could be heaters, it could be blowers, it could be gas, um, uh, these gas heaters, and so on and so forth. So they basically make our environment more comfortable because of the inclement weather. Now, definitely this is there only for winters. The demand happens to be there in the month of winters, but come summer, again, these are going to go away, and then we would require air conditioners and air coolers and things of that sort. So that's some sort of demand which is called as an irregular demand. So of the different type of demands, we've got negative demand, unwholesome demand, irregular demand, declining demand, non-existing, latent demand, and also we have got something called as an overfull demand. That is, there is a demand which is called as the full demand and an overfull demand. let's say, for example, you'd like to go and buy a product at any price which is available simply because you have to use that product. It could be that you may be facing some sort of a cash crunch, but you still would be buying that product simply because there is no other alternative available. These happen to be the different type of demands which you can actually go through the moment you look into the text. And if there is any sort of a confusion, we can always revisit. Now we come to the next important aspect in the context of the markets. Now markets basically are, there are different components of markets which are example available, and where there's a cross interaction of the different elements in terms of communication and transfer of goods and services or resources which happen between the different level of markets. So we would be looking at something called the resource market. Now human beings, the workforce, all of us are resource, and when we are looking for a job, we basically are offering our services or our skills for the different type of jobs. So when you are going to be looking at different type of um, job options in the market, you basically are selling your skills. With the type of marketing or the management education that you're having, you would be trying to sell your skills in order to get an employment. Now that basically is trying to sell your resources. So you are selling your resources, and we exactly, the job market happens to be the resource market. So definitely when you are going to be selling your resources, you'd be compensated in terms of salary. That is the money that you would be receiving for the resources that you offer to the manufacturing market. Now, the manufacturer, which exactly is manufacturing the goods and services, is also getting different type of resources from the job market, and then it is trying to pay back the money in terms of salary to the resources, but then it is giving different type of benefits to the government as a market in terms of taxes and goods, and it is also taking different type of money from the government in terms of services money for the different type of good taxes and goods it is providing to the government market. Also, these manufacturing market actually goes down to the intermediary market, which is at the down, and then intermediary market, from there it takes the different goods and services, provide the different goods and services to the intermediary market, and takes money for those goods and services from the intermediary market. Now these intermediaries are the different type of value, the supply chain which exactly bring the goods and services to consumers. You can look at the different type of online platforms or the brick and mortar or the retail outlets. These are intermediary markets which are actually are bringing the manufactured goods and services to the consumers. At the right end is the consumer market. Now this consumer market is basically the different type of consumption market which uses the different goods and services which are manufactured from the manufacturer market and brought to you from the intermediary market with the domain of the government market, and then you try to use these different type of products and services, and for these different type of products and services you pay the different cost of these goods and services which exactly are provided by the intermediaries or the resource, and then you are using these goods and services. Also, you are paying the different type of taxes to the government, and then the services you are using from the government. Let's say, for example, you're using the infrastructure, that is the highways. You're driving on the highways, you're paying a toll tax. Now that basically, or the road tax or the insurance tax, which exactly you're paying for using the infrastructure which is there, or you're paying the different type of utility taxes which exactly you're using, and these utilities are being provided as products and services by the government. Basically, there are four interacting markets with the government in the center as the five markets, and these five markets, there's an interaction between the different type of services or resources or money or goods and services which is interacting on interplaying between these five different type of markets. So this sort of an interaction is a constant phenomena that is happening, and these are mutually beneficial for each other, and that is how the system of marketing actually works. Coming down to a simple marketing system, we would be looking at two broad domains or two broad baskets. One exactly is the industry, which is a collection of sellers, and the second is a market, which is a collection of buyers where there's an interaction. So looking at some of the key consumer markets, we exactly have the global markets where there is international trade which is happening across the different nations. Then we have the consumer market, which exactly is the consumer which is buying the different goods and services. We have the government as a market, which exactly is using the different type of resources from the different type of markets. Then we've got a business market, B2B, business to business market. Then market can also be divided into marketplace, market space, and meta markets. Now, market space is a new form of electronic or the virtual marketplace, which exactly has evolved. And you have got these different type of platforms like Myntra, you've got Amazon, you've got Flipkart, you've got the different type of portals, you've got things like Naukri.com, you've got the different matrimonial alliance places, you've got different, all these are LinkedIn, or these exactly all form or of different market spaces, or even travel websites like, for example, yatra.com or makemytrip.com or Go Ibibo or travel websites, or even things like you have these different type of food chains, which exactly like Swiggy, delivery networks. These are all called as market spaces. So these are reflectives of the virtual market, which exactly are uh, which exactly have grown from the brick and mortar setup from the physical marketplaces. Now they exactly also offer different type of benefits and over physical marketplace, because we will be looking at exactly the evolution of market spaces which exactly is happening. Then we've got something which is called as a meta markets. Now meta markets are actually conglomerated markets which exactly offer you all the different type of services under the same portal. Let's say, for example, you're trying to buy a car by Maruti Udyog or Maruti Suzuki. Now, the moment you decide to buy a car, you've got a network of markets which exactly composes of an example of meta markets. Like, for example, you want to buy a car, you go to the showroom, and the showroom basically houses the different type of physical products. It could be Nexa or Arena, which exactly at the showroom. Now, if you want to sell the car, you've got a Maruti True Value wherein you can sell your car. You've got a Maruti Finance, which can finance you for purchasing a car. They have a tie-up with the different type of financial institutions to provide you money to buy a car. Also, if you want to seek insurance, they've got a Maruti Insurance. And if you want to get your car serviced, you've got Maruti Authorized Service Centers. Now, these Maruti Authorized Service Centers, when you go there, you exactly have even the spare parts which are called as MGP, Maruti Genuine Products, which exactly are sourced from the different type of manufacturers and branded with brand Maruti. So technically, all the different type of sub-components of the or the cluster of markets which are assimilated under a single brand can be considered as a meta market. So technically, markets can be divided into marketplaces, the brick and mortar setups, the retail outlets, and other type of marketing retail, physical marketing retail units. Then we've got market spaces, the virtual marketplace, and the meta markets, as we have just discussed. We also have, we look into some certain aspects of the core marketing concept in the context of that we have got, there are certain needs, there are certain wants, and then there are certain demands which exactly exist. Then these are matched with different type of offerings and brands which exactly are there. These offerings and brands are taking care of the different wants and needs and demands which exactly are there. Now, as a marketeer, we would like to look into how to take care of the marketing needs, wants, and demands by matching with the right type of products and services in the context of our offerings and brands. So what we do is we try to do target market positioning and segmenting, STP. Segmenting, targeting, and positioning is what we do. That is, we break up a heterogeneous market into different clusters of homogeneous groups, and these are basically segmented. And then on the basis of each segment and their characteristics, we offer the different type of goods and services by targeting specifically each segment with a specific type of a positioning, so that every segment, every homogeneous segment of the entire heterogeneous entity is actually given the value and satisfaction. Now, coming down to the core marketing concepts, we've basically got the different variables or the factors which exactly are playing in. Now, we exactly have the marketing channels. I told you about the wholesaler, the retailer, the distributor, and so on and so forth, which exactly brings in the goods from the producer to the consumer. Also, we've got the marketing environment. We've seen the different type of players which exactly are playing in. Then the supply chain, where we have got the logistics or the movement of the goods, the warehouses, the storages, the different type of locations from where the goods go from point A to point B. And then we've got competition, where exactly there is a real aspect which exactly plays when we have got multiple people offering the same products for the same common market. Then of course there is an element of competition which comes in, and a competition is always very healthy, because this basically helps the market, and it becomes a more of a buyer's market rather than a seller's market. We've migrated from a buyer's market, seller's market, because earlier when you had a monopoly or duopoly, then the seller becomes very powerful and the buyer is at the loss. And the seller can sell whatever they wish and the buyer has to buy because they don't have any other option. But the moment competition comes up, and when we have more number of sellers offering their products and services to the same group of buyers, then the buyers can demand the products and services that they wish to buy, and that becomes more of a buyer's market and not a seller's market anymore. And that's basically is one of the benefits of marketing. So looking at the evolution of marketing, because marketing has evolved over a period of time, and there are certain different dimensions that come into play in the new marketing reality. You've got the major new company capabilities. So these societal forces are kicking in the new capabilities which exactly are there. The first is information technology. Now, the very reason that we are interacting with each other online speaks about the amount and the power that information technology carries to bring this educational services to these stakeholders, that is my students, and I'm able to interact with you because of this sort of a change in the environment which has happened. So we have resolved to online classes. Now that's basically because of the pandemic and the virus which exactly is transmitting at a very fast rate. So in order to keep us safe and healthy, it is always better that we try to have social distancing and try to keep ourselves away from each other. And unless and until there's a complete breakdown of the entire this pandemic is over and the pandemic is no more, then we can always resume our online classes. So in this context, even the information technology plays a very important role. Also, we have seen that uh, consumer information is very important, because today all of us would require to have lots and lots of information, because on the basis of information we can customize the products and services, as to we can define what goods and services are actually required by the consumers, and we can design goods and services across around consumers. So today consumer is in the center of any sort of a product co-creation, rather than we are not trying to first make the product and then hunt for who's going to buy, but rather we are going to define the product on the basis of the requirements of the consumers. The second important aspect is globalization. Today information is available at your fingertips, and there exactly is virtually no boundaries. So goods can come across from anywhere, and whatever is best offered anywhere can be available at your doorsteps. Now that exactly is fueled by information technology, and that's a major societal force which exactly has changed the new marketing reality. So effectively, this has given rise to increased competition. So you see, one of them is propelling the next factor, and these critical success factors have created major societal forces which exactly have created some new company capabilities. Now, these new company capabilities as that they are collecting more and more information. There's a huge amount of marketing research which is happening. Big data has come in a big way, which is capturing real-time information. Even the moment while you're searching your net and you're using internet and you're using the different type of websites, you might not be aware, but the organizations are actually capturing your data. They're collecting your information and profiling you and your activity and your behavior, online behavior. So in that aspect, they have created different type of cookies and programs which exactly are real-time information gatherers. So new collecting of new information gives them a lot of power over how you basically behave when you try to go for different type of products and services. And there's a huge amount of research that is currently on in this context, where consumer behaviors is being mapped very, very accurately. They are trying to understand consumer and how to categorize and segment the consumers into different categories. Also, how to communicate with consumers is to tell them that is to what you want and how to buy it and at which price should you buy it. Also, there are different type of differentiation of goods on the basis of the consumer psyche, which exactly is done. And these exactly have emerged as the new marketing realities. Now, I wanted to discuss, we have already actually discussed all these things in our earlier classes, but because of a small amount of gap in our classes, we did not continue ahead. And I wanted to take up this sort of a case study. This was by Raymond, and this was about marketing in practice. Now, just bear with me. I would be reading out about this very interesting case study. Um, this is Raymond made to measure. Now, traditionally, customers would rely on their local tailors who specialized in stitching and custom-made dresses for their clients. However, with the increasing preference of ready-made garments, customers started adjusting to standards and sizes of the garments rather than adjusting the garment fit to variation of individual sizes. When you want to buy a garment, you would like to say you'd like to buy large, medium, XL, and so on and so forth. So you want to actually fit your size to the available size which exactly are there in the ready-made market. Rather than earlier, what used to happen was that the tailor used to stitch your products or your garments according to your specified size. The customized offering was being given by the tailor, but today you exactly have ready-made products which exactly available, and you go and try to fit yourself in one of those products. Now, as an alternative, Raymond decided to look into this as a situation which exactly is existing, and Raymond has come up with an alternative. So Raymond started made to measure service in the country, flagship outlet. So, wherever there are Raymond outlets in the country, they have come up with something called as made to measure services. So effectively what happens is they are taking measurements of the people who exactly are coming to their data to the central manufacturing location where the garment is stitched according to the specifications of the consumers who exactly have walked into these Raymond showrooms and selected one of the fabric for their garments. Now this custom made garment reach the shop on a prescribed date. So when your garment is customized according to your size and stitched, it reaches the same Raymond retail outlet on a prescribed date. And the advantage of this service offer is that the garment have the finish of a ready-made garment, but they are made to suit the individual measurements. So effectively, this is a type of a service which exactly has been introduced by Raymond to take care of the consumer's requirement, because they don't want to fit the consumers in predefined product which is available in the ready-made shops, but rather create customized products according to the requirements and the sizes of the consumers. So the consumer can go into a Raymond shop, select a fabric, and then get the same fabric finished, customized to their requirements and sizes from the factory, giving a ready-made finish according to their size and offered to them at their convenience. Now, this exactly is something which exactly has been come up with Raymond, and we have seen this. Yes, I have Arma Banu who's raised her hand. Any query?
Yes, so actually, the last time you asked us to go through the Raymond's case, and I was looking through it, and what I realized was that yes, this was the marketing strategy that they were using at that point of time, but
Okay.
in a way later on, it made Raymond became a very known brand for people who were middle-aged and who were older.
Okay.
So now with the change in ownership of Raymond, the ownership has changed recently. So now with the change of ownership, they have a young CEO who's the son of the earlier owner of Raymond. So he is basically reconstructing the marketing strategy of Raymond and making it, trying to make it more appealing for the younger generation as well. Because Raymond is already a household name, so they are planning a number of strategies, and they're also trying to introduce the concept of ready-made garments under their own label Raymond, and they're also introducing various other labels under Raymond so as to make it more appealing to the younger generation as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Arma, for that information. I'm really very happy that you did some amount of homework and decided to share with all of us for the benefit of everyone in the class. Thank you very much for that value addition. I really appreciate your input. So, as you see, one of your friends, she has shared the information towards a change in the ownership, resulting in the change in the strategic orientation of the product and service offering by Raymond's to the consumers in order to take care of the competition and the existing market frame. We exactly have to come up with different type of strategies. That exactly is what marketing is all about in the real world. So we would be studying more dimensions about it as we proceed. Thank you very much. Now, proceeding ahead, who is responsible for marketing? As you neatly said that Arma decided to share with us that, that the chief marketing officer or the chief executive officer who has taken over from his earlier generation has decided to come about with a change in strategy. So we exactly have a very interesting domain, that is what exactly is responsible and who exactly is responsible for marketing. Of course, it starts with the entire organization. Then this organization is again divided into different type of departments, and we have got a marketing department which takes care of the marketing activities, and this marketing department is headed by a general manager marketing or the chief marketing officer. So this is the hierarchy of the people who are responsible for this. Now, coming down to the most important concept of marketing, which exactly we would be discussing about in the context of the marketing concept. Now, marketing concept has basically changed over a period of time, and then there exactly started with a production concept. Now, let me tell you that production concept is one of the oldest concepts in business. It holds that the consumers prefer products that are widely available and inexpensive. So consumers, they want products which are widely available and which happens to be inexpensive. So managers of production oriented business, they concentrate on achieving high production efficiency. How would they get high production? By lowering the cost. When they lower the cost, when you have got increased the volumes, you actually end up lowering the cost. And they end up by mass distribution also, you lower the cost. So when you are doing a selective or intensive distribution, again, then the cost comes down. If you're doing selective distribution, the cost is going to be high. But when you're doing intensive distribution, the cost actually comes down. So the two ways you try to cut costs, that is, the one makes it in volume, do a volume production, and then see that it is distributed by mass distribution. Now, this originates the sense in developing countries. Like, for example, then there are certain type of developing countries like China, okay, which exactly are manufacturing, which has a huge amount of customer, which has a huge amount of production base. That is, people are doing mass manufacturing and they're manufacturing at a very low cost, and also sometimes compromising on quality. And there is mass production and mass distribution. So effectively, the cost of the product is very, very small. And that is what is giving them some level of edge over the different type of products. So this exactly is because of inexpensive labor pool and which dominates the market. So marketeers use this production concept where they want to expand the market. So this is the first type of production concept, that is, you put the quality at the backstage, you do mass production at a very low cost, and you do intensive distribution. Now this basically is the concept, exactly is called as the production concept, where there is a mass labor, where there is a lot of labor, there is low cost labor, and when you're basically producing in volumes, you're not taking care of any other thing, but only trying to keep the cost of the production very low, so that they have the concept that the people will go for products which exactly are very cheap and are widely available. So this is the first concept, which is called the production concept. Now, beyond this concept, there's a second concept which is called as the product concept. Now, here, this proposes that consumers favor products offering most quality and performance or innovative features. Now, however, managers are sometimes caught between, they're caught in a love affair with their products. That is, managers would feel that my product is one of the best products. They might commit a better mousetrap fallacy. Now, this would mean believing that a better product will by itself lead people to beat the path in their door. So if they feel, the certain managers feel that since my product is too good, people are going to make a beeline to purchase their product because I have got an offering which exactly nobody is offering in the market. So a new or improved product will not necessarily be successful if it is not priced properly, advertised, distributed, and sold properly. So you see, you must have seen many type of products which were excellent product, but they have failed in the market simply because the manufacturers, they really thought that their product is world class, but then they did not look into pricing it properly. Then they did not look at distributing it properly. They did not look at advertising it properly. And many a successful product has gone down the drain. Many of the failures of great successful products and brands have gone down the drain simply because that the people who are basically marketing that product, they were very they were super confident about their product. They were very um, enamored by the type of product that they have actually produced, and they really thought that the product would itself buy itself. And that is where the mistake that they did was they did not look into the different dimensions of marketing towards seeing that the product sustained itself. And many great brands, like even if you look at Nokia, it perished. Or for that matter, you have got different type of products. There are thousands of products which exactly have perished from the marketing world, which were once upon a time market leaders. But then people became so self-complacent of these products that they had produced that they did not care to actually carry forward their products, and this proved to be their death knell. Now, coming down to the third concept, which is called as the selling concept. Now, selling concept is holding the fact that consumers and business, if left alone, won't buy enough. of the organization's product, but it is practiced more aggressively with unsought goods. Like goods buyers don't normally think of buying. Now, certain things will not sell unless you actually give them the right push. Like, for example, insurance or let's say cemetery plots where people are actually cremated. And when firms are over capacity and they sell, they rather make what the marketeers want. The market based on hard selling is risky. It assumes that customers are coaxed into buying products. Not only it won't return or badmouth, but complain the consumer organization, but they might not never buy it again. Like for example, if you look at the amount of uh, pain that a consumer is actually put like a seller is actually put through when they're trying to sell an insurance policy. People don't want to buy it, unless you are actually scared. Like health insurance, like you must have seen that in the second wave, that is the Delta phase of this COVID, there are so many people who unfortunately lost their lives. So health, and many of them were hospitalized, and the cost of hospitalization was very, very high. So effectively, uh, this was a fear factor which was created in order to sell different type of life insurance policies or health insurance policies. So it was a very difficult aspect, and so selling was actually a propelling force in order to sell certain type of products and services which people are not readily acceptable to buy those goods and services. So we've seen three concepts: production concept, product concept, and selling concept. Now beyond selling concept is something which is called the marketing concept. So marketing concept, actually this emerged in the mid 1950s. And as a consumer-centric center, it responded to the customer's sense and philosophy. That is, the job is not to find the right customer for your product, but to find the right product for your customer. So rather than trying to find the right customer for the product that you've made, it is basically finding the right product for the customer which exactly is there. Like for example, if you look at a brand called Dell. Now Dell doesn't prepare perfect computers for the target market, but rather it provides product platform on which each person customizes the feature that he or she desires in a computer. So if you want a computer, Dell offers that you exactly can build your own computer. It will help you create your own computer out of your own set of requirements. Let's say, for example, you are in the business of designing or automation or a lot of graphics. So definitely you require a higher amount of RAM, or you might require a higher processing power, or you might require a quick interface, or you might require a display unit which is very, very adaptive, and you can also be a touch display unit, and it has to be a very, very reactive sort of a machine. Plus this is for one set of customer. The second set of customer might require a computer which exactly is there only for entertainment or gaming purpose. So Dell offers that you can make your own computer which exactly can be a gaming computer or a computer for your specific requirement. Third is for a data center, which exactly is amassing a lot of data and is doing a lot of data crunching. So exactly it needs a server bank. So it requires a different type of a profiling of hardware which is required by a Dell computer. So Dell offers that customer another type of a variation towards defining the products according to his or her requirement. So it's not a one size fit all, but rather each size should be specific on the basis of a customized customer prerequisite requirement. Now that exactly is how this marketing concept actually has evolved. That is, Theodore Levitt drew a perspective contrast between the selling and the marketing concept. Now, there is a contrast which has been drawn between the selling and the marketing concept. That is, selling focuses on needs of the seller, okay, but marketing on the need of the marketing on the need of the buyer. So selling concept is where the concept was based on the need of the seller, but marketing is on the need of the buyer. So effectively there's a 360-degree turn in the orientation, or that is 180-degree turn in the orientation. That is, one is based on the seller's orientation and the second is based on the buyer orientation. He is preoccupied with the seller's needs and converts his products into cash, while marketing with the idea of satisfying the needs of the consumer by means of products and the whole cluster of things associated with creating, delivering, and finally consuming it. So we are not just all about selling the product, but trying to see how satisfied our consumer is. If the consumer is really satisfied, then we have done our job in the context of a marketing concept. But it's not just like to clearing our inventory in the selling concept. So effectively, we're trying to see that a happy customer actually is going to draw us more customers, and that exactly is going to be more profitable. So we want to see the customer's word of mouth. It has to be a positive. So we want to see the reviews that a customer gives about the utility of a product or service that they have used. So this exactly is the deviation or the movement of goods and services from production to the marketing concept. So we had the production concept, the product concept, the selling concept, and marketing concept. And finally, we come down to something which is called the holistic marketing and concept. And we would be looking at this concept in tomorrow's session, which we shall be taking up in tomorrow's class. That is, we will be looking into this aspect towards the marketing concept and the holistic concept tomorrow, and we would be continuing with the same. We shall be sticking to the same timelines. We will try to let you know well in advance in case we decide to go for an extra class, which we will be going, and based on your interaction and feedback, we will schedule an extra class, because we would be needing certain extra classes because we were just a bit slow with our context. Yes, Arma, you raised your hand. Please speak up.
Yes, so actually, this selling, we were discussing the selling concept and the marketing concept. So this
Okay.
thing came into my mind about the garment industry. We have certain
Okay.
brands like H&M and Zara, which are fast fashion brands. So their main concern is about selling the products. While on the other hand, we also have certain luxury couture houses which make custom made designs on the basis of what is required by the customer. Like those are like single designs. But at the same time, so this can come under the marketing concept. But at the same time, when we look at the variation of prices, then the prices are varied to quite a lot extent.
Mhm. So where's the question?
So it's not a question, it was just an observation that
Okay,
while we are
okay,
looking at
okay,
selling and
okay, okay.
marketing concept, then there is a variation in price as well.
Yes, I appreciate your observation, Arma. Basically, what happens is when we will be discussing this aspect towards products and pricing per se, we will be looking at it. Yes, there are, I would say, different type of concepts. Like we have got these different compartmentalized concepts. We will be trying to compartmentalize into production, product selling, marketing. But then, as you rightly said, there can be a mid segment in between them as well, because there are certain industries which are actually evolving as we speak, and there's a lot of dynamism that is happening in the environment, and there is a lot of revolution which is happening. In fact, there is avatar marketing which is happening, where today you are trying to create virtual identities of yourself when you're buying virtual clothes, or to suit your virtual avatars in on the web, because you are actually living in a virtual environment. So there is a virtual life which exactly is there. So uh, yes, there can be sub segments within these compartments as well, comprising of either of them. That is, some components of a product and some components of selling, some components of selling and some components of marketing, which also can be creating certain different sub segments. You know, marketing is actually an evolving dimension of arts as well as science. So of course, there's a lot of creativity that can be there, and I agree to you. I agree with you as to what you have said about these so-called brands, Zara and so on, fashion brands, because one of the thesis that I had guided, which is available on the internet and you can find it on the Shodh Ganga, which has been guided by me. This was in the context of these fashion brands, which exactly is there, and the evolution of fashion brands and how marketing is done in that context as well. So those of you who are interested in getting some more idea on these topics, you can always visit the internet, and you can find these thesis which exactly has been produced under my tutelage over there to read more about it. But interesting observation, I must really say. Thank you very, very much. If there is
So
anything
please,
else anybody
so
would
please
like
share
to
the please share the link of those articles. We would love
uh,
to have a
you
read.
can just do one thing. You can go to Shodh Ganga, that is there
Okay, sir.
available in the university website, and I'll share you the links. I'll share you the links um,
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Thank you very much for the day. It has been a wonderful interaction. I just wish all of you a safe environment and happy learning. And we'll be meeting tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very
Thank
much.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.